Navia's favorite units, according to Navia. Jean doesn't buff Navia directly, but she can handle VV Shred while Navia supplies Archaic Petra. In the team, Navia, Jean, Furina, Yelan. Lisa can shred defense, but her energy requirements make her difficult to work with. Amber makes some nice Baron bunnies. Noelle is a strong Geoduo with Navia, with 0 ICD crystal shards, wide and hard-hitting normal attacks, and long infusion that persists, even after swaps. Navia is also the best battery for Noelle's burst. Barbara and Sucrose, they don't really belong. Fischl is a really good applicator for electro shards, and a source of off-field single target damage. Her 25 seconds skill burst cycle synergizes well with Navia 3E rotations. Mona has some nuke potential with high investment Navia. However, her lackluster Hydro app makes it hard to generate crystals. Kaeya is rather untested. I'm not sure where to put him. Diluc and Razor? Get out. Bennett is the strongest attack buffer for Navia. He's pretty much mandatory for Navia to achieve her strongest nuke potential. Ningguang can duo with Navia a bit. The teams are not the best, but they are just okay. Beidou has nice interrupt resistance, but her high energy requirements, preference for double electro, and normal attack reliance doesn't suit Navia's free-flowing playstyle. Catching is best suited for other units. Xiangling can be good for Navia in navigational, but her high energy, required funnel time, and reduced vapes make this team a bit sus. Xianyun? I don't really see it. Xingqiu is okay, I guess. Lots of shards, damage reduction, and interrupt resistance. But not really the best partner for Navia, or vice versa. Chi-Chi. Venti lifts enemies too high up that Navia can't hit them with her Gunbrella. The VV also does nothing for her. Navia absolutely adores Klee. At high investment, Klee, Navia, Gorou and Albedo make a very fast speedrunning team. We don't need no damn children in here. That includes you, Diona. Zhongli addresses two of Navia's pain points, that being shield for interrupt resistance and additional Geo Shred. There are many highly resistant enemies in this game. But he's not good with energy. Xinyan is a funny one, rock and roll, I guess. Albedo is really controversial, but as long as his flower is not broken, is a source of crystallize, off-field damage, and energy. Ganyu can apply off-field cryo, but Geo Shatter isn't the best way to use freeze. Xiao? Hu Dao is a crazy one. Maybe some sort of sub-DPS Navia. There are better things to do. Rosaria has a crit rate buff and some crystal generation. It's okay, but the circle impact is kinda small. Yanfei can probably bring a shield. But we have better options for shielding. Eula is sad because Navia can do everything she can, but sooner rather than later. Navia can also nuke 3 times versus Eula's 1. Kazuha is suction power for Navia teams that really need it. It's a good team with Navia, Neuvillette, Kazuha, and Zhongli, where Navia's role is to be a sub-DPS. Ayaka is really pretty but Taylor Swift is prettier. Yoimiya can use Navia a bit, as a sub-DPS or time filler while she recharges her infusion. The crystal shards from Navia give interrupt resistance. Seiyu rolls around a lot. Raiden is a fellow nuker just like Navia, but this team is not recommended at low investment. Just use Fischl, she is better most of the time. Sara can buff Navia's nukes, but not as well as Bennett can. Kokomi is a healer who can give a few hydro crystals. Yet the low damage and clash in field times make both Navia and Kokomi less effective than they can usually be. Aloy? Who? Thoma is a great sustain character with pyro crystals on the side. He's not really meta but he works. Ito is a recently jobless guy put out of work, because Navia can do everything he does, but better. Gorou is constellation locked as Navia does not scale with attack. Once you have C6 though, the crit damage buff is much appreciated. Gorou's fast animations and ability to carry elegy make this a premier Navia partner at high investment. Shenhe is a cryo buffer and mono cryo at this moment isn't the best element to crystallize with. The issue is that freeze can interfere with shard creation, whereas mono cryo has the issue of being just not very good. Yunjin adds one normal attack of Navia's attack chain. But Navia's damage is very skill focused, so this is not the best place for her talents. Ye Nico is a strong off-field sub-DPS with decent electro application. The team, Zhongli Ye Fischl Navia is solid even if not the most damaging. Ayato is pretty good with dual DPS Navia. He is able to assist in shard generation even off-field. Yelan has a gradually increasing damage buff for Navia's nukes. The off-field damage, hydro crystals, and short rotations are also very much appreciated. Kuki is a candidate for Navia Hyperbloom, but Navia deserves better than to be carried by Dendro Brainrot. Haizu? While a Nemo can be justified with sub-DPS Navia sometimes, let's not stretch it this far. Sino likes to make a lot of jokes, because he's a joke unit. The jokes are bad, too, and the same applies to him. Candace nuts. I will not finish this sentence. Noelle is a strong-willed individual who knows what she wants in life, and those things do not include geo units. Nahida is a best destroyer of electro auras that Teyvat has ever seen, so we'll barely get any crystal shards with her. As for burning, the pyro aura is better, but burning sucks. Layla is a great shielder who can make cryo crystals on the side. Her 12-second shield can be double casted to fit into 25-second rotations. Wanderer should just wander his ass out of here. Faruzan, no. No and no. Dihaya is begging and pleading that she will give 9 seconds of interrupt resist while taking damage on behalf of Navia. But Taylor Swift deserves at least 18 seconds of interrupt resist. Mika has some fringe benefits if one is playing Navia Furina teams. He may not interact with Navia directly, except to add a single normal attack, but covers healing for Furina. I think Dory is pretty memmy. Let's upgrade her. Dendro doesn't react with Geo. Navia as a sub-DPS for Lyney is actually a legit team. The crystallized shards function is pseudo-interrupt resist, while Navia's nukes augment Lyney's own nukes. Okay, let's not do this. Off you go. Neuvillette is Navia's highest DPS team at C0. It is Neuvillette Furina Kazuha and Navia, a sub-DPS way to use her, but exceeds the damage of Hyper Navia teams. Riot Thesli, back to jail you go. Furina provides long-term hydro damage as well as a huge damage buff. The best Navia hypercarry team is Zhongli Bennett Furina Navia, but my absolute favorite is Taser Mop, with Noelle Navia Fischl Furina. Charlotte Furina Navia is okay, but only if enemies are freezable. The crystal generation is not really impacted in AoE, but in single target against bosses is on the low side. If a second Navia were to ever release, Navia would be the best partner for Navia. Chevreuse isn't out yet, but Navia already hates her, as she's exclusive to overload teams. Xinyan groups up enemies nicely for Navia's Gunbrella. In the team, Noelle Navia Xinyan Furina. The Traveler, Geo version, provides energy to Navia at the cost of littering the battlefield with a million rocks. 0 out of 10, do not recommend. Navia should have no trouble getting energy for herself. Other versions of the Traveler are not any better for Navia. Last and definitely least, Gaming is a plunge DPS with his own thing going on, and doesn't really have room for Navia. So there we have it. On the top row we have the characters that synergize the best for Navia, which are Furina, Bennett, and Noelle. Furina is just an amazing Hydro Archon that in turn generates a demand for healers, a demand which can be met by Bennett, Noelle, Jean, and Shenhe. Among these, Bennett is limited in his healing capabilities, but bring 1000 attack buff is enough to make us overlook any sin. Jean and Shenhe may heal better, but Anemo also has less synergy with Geo. The relationship between Navia and Noelle is a deeper one, where Noelle covers Navia's pain points but Navia also covers Noelle's weaknesses. So it is not just about what Noelle can do for Navia, but also what Navia can do for Noelle. The resulting Taser Mop team, of Navia Noelle Fischl Furina, may have less frontload or DPS than Hyper Navia's Bennett Furina Zhongli, but is also more consistency, better defense, and higher adaptability. Hyper Navia is better for speedrunning, but Taser Mop is better at finishing, since they can deal a lot of damage outside regular burst windows. At whale levels of investment, Klee becomes the partner of choice, with defense shredding on her C2, the ability to carry TTDS and high pyro application. Whale Navia kills in minimal shotguns, so speed becomes paramount and the team becomes warped, with Klee Navia Albedo Gorou Navia. This is preferred over Hyper Navia due to shorter animations, as at that level, speed is everything. Among the other units who are big fans of Navia, they comprise usually from off-field sub-DPS who can generate many crystallized shards. Yelan, Albedo, Fischl and Ye let Navia take the field to perform normal attacks, taking advantage of Navia's 4-second Geo infusion. The only exception is Neuvillette, who deals so much more damage that it makes sense for him to take the field instead. As Navia is a very flexible unit, she also works well with everyone she gives the seal of approval to, but for brevity's sake we will not discuss every person. Once we get to grudging acceptance, it is a bit sus, and going below is not recommended anymore.